Good day, everyone. It's me, Idoichi Nonso, and I'm coming to you live from Green Beach Cohort 8 at Ikorodu, Lagos. And today I'm here to give you my weekly update on how this week went. This is week 4, just completed week 4, and this week has been very, very interesting. Interesting, but also hectic at the same time. This week we got to learn about libraries. What are libraries? Libraries are a bunch of reusable codes that could either be deployed on chain or off chain. The main function of libraries is that libraries help us to use logic functions that have already been deployed, written, and vetted by other users. That way, instead of bulking out our code base with codes that have already been written or used by someone else, we can instead use libraries that people have written already to help aid our work, to help make our code base more lighter and more secure. So this week we also talked about open zeppelin. We talked about open zeppelin. We talked about what open zeppelin was and how it helps smart contract developers. What exactly is open zeppelin? Open zeppelin is a framework which is open source. It was actually written or developed to help smart contract developers to write secure and smaller code base. It's used to write smart contracts following the Ethereum Improvement Protocols, that is EIPs. This week we use the Open Zeppelin framework to write two smart contracts. We wrote an ERC20 smart contract. We also wrote an ERC721 smart contract. ERC20 smart contract is the token smart contracts, like smart contracts for non-fungible for tokens, sorry. Then the ERC721 contract we wrote is a smart contract for NFTs. Then this week we also moved from using our remix for development because from ever since our week 1 till this current week, week 4, at least the beginning of week 4, we were writing most of our codes, most of our smart contracts using remix. But this week we migrated from using remix to setting up our Visual Studio. So most of our codes this week, most of our smart contracts this week we wrote were on our Visual Studio. We also talked about scripting. What's scripting? Scripting is just a process of codes that we write using TypeScript in order to interact with our smart contract. Prior to using Visual Code, we were working with Remix, just as I mentioned, and Remix by default comes with a user interface, a small user interface which we use to interact with our contract. After deploying your contract on Remix, you can use the interface to interact, to call functions and stuff like that. But when you are developing, when you are writing a smart contract using Visual Code, you don't get to see those interfaces. So how do we interact with our contract? And that is where the concept of scripting comes in. So with scripting, we are able to write lines of code using TypeScript. Then we use these codes to interact with our smart contract. It goes beyond us interacting with our smart contract. With scripting, we are able to deploy our contracts. We're able to interact with our contracts. Like we're able to also interact with contracts that are already on the mainnet. It's that big. Then we were also finally one last important thing I'd like to talk about. One of the it's one of the nicest things I learned this week. As in, it really got my attention, and that is the concept of delegate call. What is delegate call? Delegate call is a concept whereby a contract, let's say for example, contract A calls a function in contract B, a totally different contract on the blockchain. And when contract A calls on contract B, contract A is able to use functions that are defined in contract B. And after using those functions, it doesn't really affect the state of contract B. Instead, the state of contract A is affected. It's that interesting. Like the fact that, okay, I'm able to use my contract to interact with someone else's contract, use functions that have already been defined, that will be structured by another person in my own contract. And the data, the responses from that interaction will be saved or will affect the state of my own contract. It's something that took a while to wrap my head around. And as I'm talking to you now, I'm happy and more confident that, okay, to a very reasonable extent, I'm able to understand and I can utilize delegates code effectively. So this week has been mind blowing. It has been very, very interesting. That's just like I said in the beginning. This week was challenging, honestly, but I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of where I've gotten to today. I'm proud and happy that we are going forward, and there are still lots of things, there are a lot of ground to cover, and I'm sure I'll see this to the end. So keep watching. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week. Peace out.